Hello, viewers. This is Shoaib Choudhury, editor of BLiTZ, and our today's guest is Mr. Souumitra Jha. As we have been discussing so much of serious matters for the years, starting from geopolitics to defense and terrorism and many other issues, today we are going to discuss something very unique, very new, and most of you may not even have heard about it. So, Mr. Soumitra Jha will discuss with us issues related to astrology.
Hello, namaste to every viewer of this auspicious channel, prestigious channel.
Thank you. And also, we welcome you, Mr. Jha, to this channel, which was run by BLiTZ, 21 years old newspaper. First of all, Mr. Jha, as we'd like to know, because most of my readers and viewers, they're not aware of, I mean, why astrology matters.
Astrology is actually a science which defines actually the astronomy. The astronomical sciences are, however, accepted by the scientific background, scientific people, and astrology because it has some combination of mysticism to it, some input from religion and history about it, which of course cannot be proved because it is ancient data. A lot of manuscript has lost. So astrology is considered a pseudoscience by the people of scientific background. However, I would like to bring this to the notice of the audience from your channel that astrology in itself is also a science. Yes, there are lots of knowledge which has been lost with the due course of time. But what astrology and astronomy has the basic differences. Astronomy is actually the geostatical location of any celestial body in our space with their natural movement in their elliptical path orbit around the sun. In astrology, what we do is those movements around the sun of that planet also impact their geostatical locational difference with Earth with respect to the sun in the solar system. Also, the gravitational pull and push, which all these celestial bodies keep applying upon each other, that also gets affected due to the natural movement. Astrology is the study of those movements, their impacts on human lives, and interpretation of it based on religious texts and mystic knowledge.
Okay. There are quite, how to say, misperception within the people, and they sometimes mix up the astrology with the palmistry. And while many people say they don't know, there is nothing called palmistry. It's all no fundamental basis, and many of them even say no. Astrology is also similar as palmistry. I mean, it's nothing but fun. I mean, that's what the people think. Some people think. So, with this kind of the right or wrong perception, I'd like to humbly ask you that can astrology really predict the future of an individual or an entity or even the world?
Okay, that is a very interesting question and a bit controversial one. However, I'll like to give you a scientific and logical interpretation of that question. So, as we see that palmistry is one of the wings of future predicting. So is tarot card reading. So is crystal ball reading, where they do the aura scanning and all. And so is astrology, where we do see the natal chart of the person with the help of their date of birth, the time of birth, and the longitude and latitude of their place of birth. With that, we do the usual astrology. When we say astrology, that is what comes in mind. In palmistry, it is a science which is more complex than astrology because the rekhas in our hands, they keep on changing. So with your karma, these rekhas keep on changing. However, in astrology, we believe that if a certain status is written in our lives, we can rise and fall in the same strata of society. So suppose in my life, it is written that I will be in a lower middle class or in an upper middle class. So I will be in that class throughout my life until unless something exceptional I will do to break that destiny and my karma will supersede my destiny. So astrology says that the status will be same, your down and fall will be soon. In hand, the status cannot be soon maybe. They just show the rise and fall. So palmistry is more complex as the rekhas keep changing. And astrology is more accurate because it shares knowledge with a limitation of the changes and fluctuations when it predicts something. The next part of your question was that whether we can predict a country's, a nation's prediction, whether we can do with astrology. So yesterday itself, when Korean regime was getting disturbed in the international politics scene, South Korea was facing a difficult time. Some 6 or 7 days ago, I predicted that there will be international escalations and geopolitical tensions on Twitter. So what happens is that yes, the planets in each year, when we move into each year, as we see, 2024 is the current year as per Gregorian calendar. And yes, a lot of people will ask, why don't you use the Hindu calendar for counting, which we use in Southeast Asia when we are doing astrology? So the reason is because the world will have impact with the calendar the world is following. That's the energy association. So 2024, if we add up the digits, 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 4, it adds on to 8. 8 is actually infinity written vertically. If we keep writing 8, it goes on like an infinity. So it represents struggles and delays and obstacles. And if we see 2024 has been an year which has shown us that there was a struggle and geopolitical tensions, escalations, regime changes in all the countries, in especially Asia and Middle East and in Ukraine-Russia war. So these things can be predicted, but yes, to a certain extent. For example, right now we are knowing that some earthquake or tsunami or some kind of event which will trigger hospitalization might occur around or before April 2025. But where it will happen and in which form it will happen, that cannot be predicted. That is the limitation. In terms of an individual, we can predict a lot of things like what will be his marital choices, the set of letters. For example, 3 or 4 letters can be told about the spouse he will choose, the name of the spouse, which profession will be the best for him, the organs of body which are about which can be affected. So there are certain things which can be very accurately said. But suppose a person who has a career which is shown in the kundali or natal chart, as we say, that this person will be among in a violent profession. So that person can also be a person who is from military, because military needs a lot of testosterone and adrenaline and violence is around it. And that person can also be a oncologist, a surgeon who is doing cancer surgeries, because there also he has to be very sharp and doing all those precisional cuts and no scope of error. So violence is there also, but violence for good uddesya. The same person can also choose to become a terrorist. So karma, free will, or as we say, karma has definitely a say. It can impact destiny. That's why sanskar, the teachings of our elders and society are very good and can be very much defining when it comes to the person's personality, despite what destiny has in store for him.
Very, very interesting. Now, what we understood, or what I understood from you, that astrology is just not a mere fake thing. It has its own scientific uh, reasons and basis. So, with this understanding, with my understanding, if I am not wrong, that when people have a physical disease, they go to a doctor, physician. So when people think that their astrology or their luck is not properly working, whatever, or they're confused with their life, they need to visit an astrologer. I think. Am I wrong?
No, no, you are 100% right, sir. So, for
And
example, when
in that
yes,
case, as the doctors or physicians, they prescribe us with certain kind of tests or certain kind of remedies or medicines, whatever. So astrologers, they also uh, recommend us gemstones, for example. But some people think gemstone is nothing. It has nothing to do with, some people think. But as an expert, uh, do you think the gemstone can really change the fate and destiny of a person?
okay, very interesting question, and I will tell you it in a very brief manner, sir. So there are all the planets which we have, Navgrahas we have. There's all the same planets: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. These are the planets taken in count. Earth is not taken in count because that is the focal point from where we are starting. Moon is taken into count because moon's gravitational pull is supposed to have impact on our body, since it brings high tidal waves and low tidal waves in all the water resources daily twice. So it is believed in ancient sciences, Sanatan sciences, that our body is made up of 70-72% water. So moon will have that effect on our mood and our hormones as well. Moon is associated with that. So on behalf of Earth, moon is considered. Sun, moon, Mercury, Venus, again Earth is not considered, so Mars, Saturn, Jupiter, and then there are two shadowy planets, Rahu and Ketu, the north node of Earth and Sun, the south node of Earth and Sun. So Earth has an orbit around Sun and the moon rotates around the Earth. So both orbits overlap each other. The northern point of overlap is called north node Rahu and southern point is called south node Ketu. So these nine planets, there are two classifications where people confuse usually. One is good planet, one is bad planet. As per the results they are giving a person as to his kundli. The another classification is a planet is a weak planet, a planet is a strong planet as per their own inherent qualities at the time of the birth of that native, that person. So a good person might be a strong person. Great, we don't need to do anything there. A good person might be a weak person. So when a good planet is a weak planet, to give it some strength, we do use gemstones. It cannot change destiny, but it can bring good yield from a planet which otherwise was weak. But with that gemstone is getting a bit of a strength, and yes, and yet it starts giving, and hence it starts giving a bit of better results. In the terms of bad planets, if we see, a bad planet can be a weak planet. Let it remain there. If a bad person is weak, it is good for society. So bad planet, if it is weak, is good for the person. But if a bad planet is strong, at that times we say that to reduce the impact of that bad planet, there are certain items and articles associated in our day-to-day life with all those planets. For example, black color is associated with Saturn planet. So what we say is, do as a remedy, just donate that color item to anyone who is in need. Now again, that is not going to change the destiny, but the malefic planet, the bad planet, its strength will get reduced because we are donating the item related to that planet. So destiny is fixed, it will never get changed. Only exceptional amount of good karma and blessings and well wishes can change it, maybe. Otherwise, yes, we can definitely help ourselves with increasing the strength of goodness inside us and decreasing the strength of negativity inside us. The same logic is applying in astrology.
You know, before this, the November 5th presidential election in the United States, I have listened to some of the astrologers from India who are living in many various countries, including the Middle East, and they were not able to predict what is going to happen. But I'm not an astrologer. I'm not a palmist. I categorically say Trump is going to win because that was based on my geopolitical understanding and understanding of the American politics. But now Trump has won. It is a fact, and there is no reason, there is no way to to turn it down. I mean, it cannot be any way to change it within the next 4 years. But of course, there are many speculations related to centering the presidency of Donald Trump. Now, we have seen one presidency of Trump from 2016 to 2020, and now we are going to see a second term of Donald Trump, which begins from 2025, and particularly for a country like Bangladesh, which is currently facing turbulence with the rise of Islamists and jihadists and anti-Hindu atrocities continuing in this country. So, of course, I mean, you know that I am not a very at all a fan of the Islamists or jihadists. So, with this reality in the subcontinent, Indian subcontinent, Bangladesh, and the global realities with the Ukraine war continuing is particularly, I don't believe that there will be something, any solution to Gaza crisis. Actually, I don't believe. You may have different opinion, but I don't believe because to United States, Israel will always remain a priority, and United States will not do anything by compromising the interest of Israel. whatever may, it comes what may. Now, I would like to ask you, what is going to be, what we can expect from Trump's next president?
Great. So in astrology, we are in a job where everyone, each one of us, however wise we are or experienced we are in our own lives, we have a personal bias. Astrology or medical sciences or any scientific thing, the scientists of that science, the experts of those that science, they should be very careful to not indulge their personal bias towards any certain figure. So, like you said, in Trump election, it happened during the Modi election, last election, 2024 election also, Ab ki baar 400 par was a nara, and a lot of astrologers were supporting it. They may had their bias or support towards Modi ji because he is doing great job in India as per I'm so sorry, as per many. But what happens is that in the geopolitical scenario, which is constantly changing, we have to keep aside our bias, our favoritism, and then analyze the situation. So the question which you have asked about Donald Trump is, so the first term was a lot of strong steps were taken. Genuinely, war was prevented in a great way. Peace was there overall. In the history of world, for the first time, a United Nations president landed in North Korea, and that is remarkable. There
United
were no
States.
threats from North Korea.
United States.
Uh, yes, United Nations. I said United States. I'm so sorry. Thank you for correcting me.
Yeah.
Also, Putin, the relationships with Russia, it was overall doing good. The European Union, all those things were under control. In the second regime, however, there will be some things for optics and illusions as well. So while war will be prevented to a lot of extent, however, escalations will keep going on. And at times when people will expect Trump to kind of give some reactions, he will be being very diplomatic and very sharp this time. This is the second time, and as per his chart and chart of States of America, it shows he will be trying to leave behind a legacy for which he is remembered. So at times there will be very hard stance, and at times there will be soft instance. So we should all expect a lot of surprises. Thankfully, for our side of the world, there will be pleasant surprises. For our side of the world, for example, when we say about India, Pakistan, including Afghanistan, Pakistan, India,
Bangladesh.
Nepal,
Bangladesh.
Bangladesh, because Bangladesh is a very important naval port, seaport. So Bangladesh, also since United States of America and China, they are going to have this tariff war and all those trade wars that everyone is knowing and expecting to a certain extent that will happen. So in those contexts, Bangladesh becomes supremely important because when a country is destabilized by internal or extrinsic forces, any neighboring superpower would try to dominate over it. United States of America, as it portrays itself to be the harbinger of democracy and the champion of democracy, will definitely not want another autocratic regime to somehow fuel anything inside Bangladesh right now. And Trump being the person he is, he would definitely not want any kind of destabilization or some anti-humanity things happening, heinous things happening against any part in any part of world during his regime, because he has to ensure that he is going to be remembered as great as Lincoln, as great as George Washington. He wants to be that reformist. And the same thing, if I will bring your attention to the crown prince, current crown prince of Saudi regime, he has again broke the spine of the extremist thinking to much extent, and that is also because
Wahhabis, I mean, extremist Wahhabis.
Wahhabis to be very precise, and he has brought liberalization into society to much extent. So Trump and then the Crown Prince of Saudi, Putin, Modi, all of these currently are on a rise, and left liberals are a bit getting hit because of their extreme opinions. All of these scenarios, including the current scenario of Bangladesh, it promises that within 2025, in the second half, we are going to see a Sonar Bangla Abar Akbar, sir. We are going to see a Bangla where peace and prosperity is again there. The Bengali society, the society of which is in Bangladesh, is not anti-Hindu or anti-Muslim or any anti-minority. These fringe elements will again be controlled in a very strong way, and peace will be there.
So it means, Mr. Jha, if I understood properly, that what you're going to try to say, that Trump will be trying his best to leave a rememberable legacy, where he will be
Yes.
remembered by the people of this world, even 100 years, 200 years later, like they do remember Abraham Lincoln or George Washington. But as you have at the last part of the comment, which was actually the gem comment, you said that Bangladesh will again become Sonar Bangla. And if Bangladesh will again become Sonar Bangla, then in Sonar Bangla, we definitely not dream of seeing the flag of Al Qaeda. In Sonar Bangla, we definitely don't expect seeing the flag of Islamic State. In Sonar Bangla, we invariably don't want to see that the Hindu uh, mothers and sisters are living tears or they are being abducted and tortured. We don't, of course, expect seeing the bloodshed of, attack on Hindus and atrocities on Hindus. And that only that if those things does not exist in this country, then Bangladesh becomes a Sonar Bangla. Now, my point is that I may be wrong. Please correct me. To my understanding, that maybe the person who is in charge, who is the chief advisor of, I don't know whom he is advising. He is the chief advisor. So, chief advisor of very, they call it caretaker government. I term it chaos maker government. But so far we understood that Mr. Muhammad Yunus may be a very famous person. He may be even a Nobel laureate. Oh, we know Nobel laureate like Aung San Suu Kyi. She was also Nobel laureate. She is, and then what happens to her, we know it very well. We have no one learns from the history, but we know what happened to her, Aung San Suu Kyi. But he is a Nobel laureate. At the same time, Muhammad Yunus is a Trump hater. He is a exposedly pro-democrat and inclined towards the Clintons and others. So, with a person like him, who is giving space to jihadists and Islamists, and who is denying the ongoing atrocities on Hindus, do you think Sonar Bangla can be built under his leadership?
See, Muhammad Yunus was a person in our GK books for a long period of time because he's a Nobel laureate, and then maybe some association with Grameen Bank, the banking system in Bangladesh,
Microcredit.
micro thing. And then came his corruption charges some years ago, a decade back or something. So the downfall in the imagery, as the mainstream media does, the print media does. So he was a person who was just there in news. When this whole mockery of democracy was happening, I'm so sorry, and we never expected that Bangladesh faces it once again, and that too for the family of the father of the nation. The whole uh, uh, there can be in democracy there can be dissatisfied citizen, but that does not give them the right to do violence and obscenity, which they did at her residence. The current prime minister, we should say, because her resignation was not fully complete at her residence. It was such a mockery and humiliation of not only democracy but human civilization
And actually,
that
I'd like to add here something. It was not even her private residence; it is a state property. It is the official
it is a
residence of
state
private state
property.
property. You are destroying the state property. You are not destroying property of Sheikh Hasina. But of course, they also set fire on the residence of the father of the nation of Bangladesh, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, which was, which was,
So
a great shame,
it was a
great
mockery
shame.
of humans, great shame on human civilization.
And
So
it was a slap on the face of the pro-liberation forces of Bangladesh.
true, you are very right. So when that happened, and when that it was under the garb of student protest, and later on what we see, the atrocities against the female students, it was not an educated mass, it was a brainwashed mass. The international media could see that. What was happening after that? We see Muhammad Yunus coming in, taking in charge, becoming their leader, becoming the de facto ruler of Bangladesh, and showing himself very pitiful and remorseful about what is happening, and still it continued to happen. He is no longer the person he used to be, at least image wise. And as per astrology, it is impossible that under his leadership something will happen for a long term. However, because US or any other strong political entity in international politics, say China or Russia or India, they won't directly want to go against the sentiment of nation or a sentiment of a certain fringe of nation. What they will do is, for a certain time, as per the chart which I can see in Bangladesh, they will, the natal chart, the astrological chart, they will be keeping the same person as the de facto ruler. However, the policies and everything will be again normal. Once in 1 or 2 years, when the media and through everything the narrative will be established, this person will be rooted out, and again properly the resign will be set. So they will not expulse this person out in a moment. They will not remove him kind of like he or his supporters removed Sheikh Hasina. But yes, he will not be there for a long time. He will act like a stooge for a certain time and then he will be removed. That is what astrology says about the current scenario of Bangladesh and about his leadership.
You mean, of course, you know the I mean, astrological chart of Muhammad Yunus. So, considering your astrological chart, what you're saying that he's going to remain in power for some time. I mean, maybe 2 years, as you said, another 2 years, right? So, in this case, there is no chance for him losing power, even Donald Trump becomes the president.
No, Donald Trump will completely dismantle his power, but let him be a stooge. So he will just be a name so that the supporters, the jihadists don't start creating ruckus and internal problem into the society of Bangladesh. So they will let him remain there as a front. However, he will be completely powerless. He will remain as an advisor to the government, and a different government will be established ASAP.
I mean, you're seeing another government coming to power in Bangladesh, which is not which may not be under the command of Muhammad Yunus. Dear
Right.
readers, we have been talking to Mr. Souumitra Jha, and with a short break, we'll be back with Mr. Jha discussing few more important topics, including the future of the war between Russia and Ukraine. Stay with us.